Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Honey Podcast. I'm Dani, and this is Celine. And today we have a super special guest. We have Mali-Koa. She is here to talk to us a little bit about her music and some other cool things she's got going on. So, we're going to get started, of course, with how you got started out. You were actually on The Voice Australia. You had some phenomenal performances on there. But how do you kind of break away from that artist that you were on the show into the evolved artist that you are now?
Hello, everybody. I would start with that amazing spiel about my life. I mean, it's really nice to sit down with you guys. I mean, thinking about my time on The Voice, that was almost a decade ago. So if you're asking me about my artistry back then, I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't know what my sound was like. It was a very interesting opportunity for me, which, I could have taken the good and the bad from it. It's difficult to be 18 or 19 or 20 in your young learning as an artist, especially when I hadn't really developed as that. I was a backing vocalist for other people. I'd always sang behind other artists that I really admired. And I didn't really have much direction, as any kind of, young person might find themselves in that kind of position. The artist that I am now, I'm 29 years old and I'm turning 30 very soon, which don't look 30.
No, you don't. It's not that bad. I'm 30 now and I'm going to hold on to 30 as long as I can.
I'm excited to get older, especially like a female artist. I think there's definitely some sort of stigma around age. I think we need to be more open about, people's journeys. When I was in The Voice and to who I am now, there's a lot of learning in that process. And I mean, the music I make now as an artist is completely different to anything I'd done before. I hadn't even written songs before I got to London. So when I moved to London, I was able to develop as a songwriter and found a passion in creating and writing songs for myself and for other people. And yeah, I mean, the person I've evolved into is accumulation, I think, of all of those experiences. And I'm grateful for them and I wouldn't change them, I don't think.
For sure. And like you said, you did make that big move to London. And during that time, you've talked about how you kind of worked at a cafe and did all these other things. What was the moment for you that you were like, wait, music is what I want to do? Like, was there like a defining moment?
I don't think I had a defining moment. When I moved to the UK, I remember thinking this was a terrible idea. Why did I leave all my friends and my family and go in search of something bigger than myself? When I landed, I thought, I have no sense of direction. But since being here, I've met some amazing people who kind of instilled confidence in me as an artist. I met my management by chance at one of these weird parties that I ended up in. I have too many stories like that, but they said to me, you seem like an artist. And I think at that point, I'd kind of given up on that dream. I was 24 years old. No one had tapped me on the shoulder and said, it's your time to shine. Right. It wasn't like that for me. Every artist has a different journey. And I was the kind of person that thought, maybe this isn't for me. I guess meeting them and having them instill their confidence in me and encourage me to explore music again more in depth, that was a defining moment for me, I think, because I had management. I'd never had management before, and they could kind of give me some sort of structure and plan. So yeah, that was definitely, I think, the moment where I thought, okay, well, if these people say I can do it, I should probably believe that I can maybe do it as well.
Well, we're glad they believed in you, and we're glad that you didn't give up, because we love your music.
It's so good. Like, it's been like your whole album has been like, I don't know if this is weird to say, but it's been like my shower playlist where I'm just like belting everything in the shower, just like feeling every word. It's amazing.
Oh no, it's made for showering, actually. I've listened to my album in the shower, on my runs, and in different places. So I'm glad it's there with you, Celine. It's for you.
Yes.
It's
Thank
definitely
you. I needed it.
it's definitely one of those albums that you just are feeling all the feelings through and through. So yeah, I mean, perfect segue to talk about the album. You just released your full album. Congratulations. It's awesome. We love it in the shower. We love it all the time. How did that feel, releasing a full album compared to releasing just singles?
Releasing Hunger was probably one of the proudest days of my life. I put it out in an extremely difficult time, which is very true to my form. I love to do things in difficult times. So it was a moment that I think I'm just very proud of the story that it tells, and I think that will age well. I wanted to make something that felt timeless to me, and something that I could look back in 20 years time, 30 years time, and be proud of the story. And I think that Hunger does that. And there are so many moments where you think, oh, this may not happen, this might not be coming out, or maybe this won't go right. And I was just really grateful to be able to put music out, especially in the pandemic. Music really brings people together. So I was happy to kind of, not only for others, but for myself, have some sort of outlet into the world. Also one of the most stressful times in my life, trying to get everything done. If anyone's watched any of my music videos or like a lot of my online content, it was about creating things for a world where we were all trapped inside, which was actually more difficult than I thought. But I'm grateful there's people like yourselves and people that listen to my music and reach out to me. Everyone received it so well, and I couldn't have asked for like a better reception, and people who actually care about music, and aren't just there for a good time, they're there for a long time. So do the both.
Like you
Definitely.
said, I mean, you really do a lot of awesome creative stuff with your music. And one that I just have to bring up and talk about is Sorry, and the music video for Sorry. Talk about being emo, like that one gets me really good. It's awesome. Do you want to just tell us like a little bit about that and about creating that?
Yeah, so Sorry was a really special video for me. My mom was in it, and the whole preface of it was inviting two strangers to sit opposite a table to each other and talk about things that they'd been sorry for in their lives, and have some sort of like, yes, very emo. It's all very emo. Like if I listen to my remember at the very beginning, people used to say, will she ever write a happy song? No, probably not. I mean, I actually went to go do a Valentine's Day post just the other week with me and my boyfriend, and I realized I don't have any happy songs. Trying to put a song to it, I thought, a little bit of self-promo never hurt.
Right.
So it's all very emotional, and like that music video was no exception. My mom being there, and it was I cried, but only because it was, I didn't think people would be so honest and raw and authentic, but the people who were in the music video, they had actually never met. Wow. And did tell each other these deep and meaningful stories about themselves. And some of those really touched me. There were some, I won't obviously share them because that's their stories to share, but I didn't really prepare myself for how impactful that could be. And I mean, it's been watched like 3 million times now, which is quite insane to me. So I think the message is true for everyone. So hopefully everyone loves it like I do.
I mean, the emotions that come out of me when I watch that one, I just got the chills listening to you talk about it. And also, I have to bring this up as well. The Bernie Sanders meme of it had me crying, laughing, like I was done.
Somebody, sometimes when I'm looking through the internet, it's a very weird and wonderful world, especially on Twitter, and someone had photoshopped Bernie Sanders opposite table, and I thought that was really clever. I was like, where is this girl? She needs to be on my content team.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was really apt. And obviously I was saying in the comments, if you know, you know, and if you don't know, don't bother being.
Don't. It cracked me up. That was too good. I mean, they have put him in some awesome situations, but that was my favorite, I've got to say.
Yeah, but the legend, go Bernie.
On the topic of your album, I know it's kind of going to be like naming your favorite child, but what is your favorite song on the album? Like the one that you, listening back, you're like, damn, I did that. Like, that's so good.
I think I am most proud. Oh, it is so hard. I've listened to these songs so I don't think people understand how many times you listen to songs, especially for me. I was very involved in the process of mixing and mastering and all of like I executive produced the record with a few other people, so it was really important to try and get things sounding the best they could be. So I've listened to these songs hundreds of times, like in all different sorts of ways, but I think Hunger for me is my favorite on the album, just because it tells my particular journey of, the duality of having a dream and ambition, the good and bad, but also Me Before You, I really love. And I also really love Human Nature and Hearts. I mean, I plug myself now because they're all like so good to me. And I mean, Sorry also has a very special place because that was one of every song on this album. I did something really, especially if it had a video, I did something that challenged me. So, Dancer, I danced in that music video, which I'd never done before. And then I did I filmed the Some Things video from my house in the lockdown with my iPhone, which is also quite crazy. Like, to direct a video and to kind of come up with the concept in my own house, that was something I really thought I couldn't do, but I think this lockdown's helped me to realize that we put so many boundaries on ourselves as creatives and so many boundaries on the things that we can achieve with little to no money or without the opportunity to be outside of our houses or have hair and makeup, etc. But yeah, I think definitely Hunger is, whenever I hear Hunger, I think I'm most proud of the way that sounds, but also Revolution. I'm sorry. They're all big stuff. But when I first heard Revolution, I thought that was incredible. I was super, super proud with all the gospel choir and stuff, and Hunger as well. I think if I had to narrow it down to two, Revolution and Hunger. Yes, I think.
They're both very solid.
Yeah, you named a whole bunch of good ones. The whole album's awesome. Me Before You is one of my favorites, I would say. After Sorry, that one, because that one just, like I said, that one gets me so emotional.
I think Before You was like probably one of the most pop records on the album. So I think the way that it's written, the way that the production is, I wanted to try and make this album obviously as heartfelt as possible and have that singer-songwriter element, but also fuse it more so with that kind of pop crossover so people could kind of hear that from me. I think people thought my album was going to be mostly acoustic music. So when I started to drop the singles, everybody was a bit like, whoa, like Dancer came out. We wanted to put Dancer out after a long time after Sorry, because that was the most different sounding on the album. And people kind of got to see me in a new light as an artist and the kind of music that I like to make. But yeah, I love Me Before You. I think that it's one of my favorite written songs on the record.
Just those deep emotional lyrics. Whew. You're very, very, very talented at that, I will say. You got a girl in your feels over here.
About the feels.
And you mentioned that like you have filmed like a music video during this pandemic, and I know the pandemic has made things very, very hard for artists. I was wondering, do you have any plans as far as like any like shows that you're wanting to do during the pandemic or anything like that?
I would have loved to. I would have done a headline show to support the album. I think last year would have been a big year of shows, and this year obviously, but plans are out of our control. So I'm happy to be safe at home and obviously abiding by all guidelines as
yes.
individual government. But I am looking forward to performing. You know, I would have loved to have done a live stream show and stuff like that, but I'm in the UK and we're back down in a lockdown now. So any kind of immediate plans, there aren't many. I've done a few kind of acoustic cover versions. Is it a cover if it's my own song? I don't think it's just a version of my own song, which is acoustic. I've done a few of those for a channel that I've been working with called Pipped. And I'm also going to plan on doing as much as I can. You know, I'd love to do a few shows when shows are back and happening, and hopefully I think that the way I've written this album, it will still ring true, even if it's at the end of this year. So fingers crossed, I'd hope to be able to do a show. Yeah,
I'm excited for that. That is going to be awesome.
You can come along, Celine, and come along.
If you're ever in Arizona or close to me, I'm 100% there.
Yeah, I'd love to do a little bit of touring, and I hope to try and do a support slot for someone who's kind of like, you know, like there are so many great artists out there doing their thing, but it's just such an unusual time. But, you know, I'm creating, and I've just started another project, which is a different kind of thing, which is more of an electronic dance music project called under the name Arco. Mm-hmm. So I've been writing for that, and I've also been writing for other artists and their projects, focusing on that side of things until I've got a bit more freedom to do what I want to do with this album, and also continuing after a little break to write what could potentially be a second record, I suppose.
That's exciting. When you're writing for those other artists, or when you're just writing in general, how do you decide which ones you want to keep for like your own projects and which ones you want to give to other people?
I know that when I wrote Hunger, I went into it with the intention of writing for that album. So in 2019, I decided at the very beginning, so I think it was March, that I was going to go and do a few writing trips to places that I'd always admired, musical cities. Like, you know, I went to Nashville and wrote some songs in Nashville, and then I also went to Sweden and wrote there as well. I ended up writing specifically, trying to find the songs that I thought could shape the sound of the album, because I did have a few songs. You know, I had Honest and Pretend, they were already out, and I also I was like, okay, cool, so those are those songs, but we need to develop it into a sound that I think is a bit bigger, something that's got a bit more production. I went and wrote in those places and came back and decided to finish the record with myself in mind. So it wasn't as though I was writing for others and then took those songs. But the funny thing is that now that I've been writing on, you know, this, I was obviously getting the album ready to release last year, but still writing for other people and writing for pitch, which when you write songs that potentially other artists will be pitched to other artists, and they may take it in the end or they may not. It's kind of like a guessing game. You write a song and you hope someone I've written a few songs in that way, pitch songs that I think now could possibly work for another record for me, or even singles. So I guess like the more I'm doing those, balancing those two worlds, the more I'm realizing I can take songs, and you can tell when a song is inspired by you and your experiences and is very personal to you. And sometimes you do try to palm it off and be like, oh, because you have to just come up with an idea, right? You're like, oh, I'm sad today, and someone will feel sad some days. Let's write a song like that. But sometimes you write a song and you think, oh, you know, for me, Honest, I wrote that for myself, but there was a point where possibly Zayn was going to take it. So, and that's kind of the way that the world works. Maybe someone else will want it or not. So I think I know intuitively now the songs that I love. I'm never precious, you know. If someone's like, Beyonce wants your song, I'm never going to be like, no. It's my song, Beyonce. You can't have it. Of course, if the artist is big enough and I rate them and this and that, like the song is always going to come first, as opposed to me and my project in particular. But yeah, you can kind of tell. Sometimes you think, oh, if no one takes this, I'll have it for myself. That's kind of where I'm at now.
That's cool. I really never knew like that's how it worked. So that's awesome.
Me neither.
Now I'm just thinking about Beyonce, like, no.
I think Beyonce does write like a lot of her stuff, but when you're a really busy recording artist and you're traveling the world, really not that much time, especially if you're a pop artist, to sit down in a room and write. You know, there are artists like Lady Gaga who I really admire. It depends on the sort of that you are. A lot of artists like Rihanna, for example, very openly doesn't write her own songs, you know, takes songs from very talented writers, gives people a job. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just really depends on the artist. I think for my project in particular, I think me telling the stories is always the best way that it's going to come across. But I would never say no to a great song. You know, there are some talented people writing big songs. So hopefully I can just write them for myself and for other people.
Like you said, I mean, that's a job for someone else. So that is awesome that you're able to be on both sides of the spectrum, a singer and a songwriter. I think that's
and
really...
a producer. Yeah.
Oh yeah. You're just doing it all, aren't you? That's awesome.
I'd like to become better at the production side of things. Like I definitely can do the overarching stuff of being like, this needs a bit more of this. But, you know, the actual mechanics, I worked with some amazing producers on my album, you know, like it was quite crazy for me because there were some songs like Revolution, the guy who produced it in the end, his name's Honore Gill, and he is Alicia Keys' MD. Wow. And he had like John Mayer. He's like got a phone book of all these like crazy people who are like, yo, Honore, because he's American. Like, super cool guy, you know, like very cool, Honore Gill. And then he got this choir called Ella and Q Gospel Choir, which you hear on the song. And they actually performed with Whitney and Prince.
Wow.
And
wow,
that was like pretty crazy because, you know, I had no idea. And then when I heard it, I was like, oh my gosh, little old me from Australia. People. And then, you know, another guy that I worked with here, he wrote Human Nature with me, and he had written Warwick Avenue for Duffy, which was a big song, and then also Put Your Records On by Corinne Bailey Rae. So like, I mean, I was pretty happy at the end of it to kind of work with these amazing people, but I'd love to become a better producer. I think more women, we need more women across the music industry. Yes. All roles, not only like but also like, you know, within the business side of things, you know, A&Rs, management, people who are working on the label side. So big up women in the music industry.
Yes, that was a big topic of one of our recent podcasts as well. We were just hyping up women in the music industry. It's sometimes we don't get taken seriously. So I'm with you on that, and we're gonna do it.
100%. I think it is it's an amazing time for everybody to come together to support each other in all sorts of, you know, minorities, whether that is, you know, socioeconomic, racial, gender equality. It's so important for everybody to come together and for there to be some sort of like, you know, global movement when it comes to making sure that the world is a fair place for all people, no matter what they identify as, I guess.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said that better myself. No, we want to get you started. We do. We love to hear that. I mean, I think that especially with someone like you who's so prominent in the music industry, like for you to say those things is so important. And it's like so important for your fans to hear those things because they are looking up to you. And yeah, I mean, it's one of the most important things that we're going through right now, and like finding that equality. So I love to hear you say that. That's awesome.
We love to hear it. We love to hear it.
Yes. So you did mention your project you're working on, Arco. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that? Because it seems really exciting. I'd love to hear more.
Yeah, definitely. So last year was a very busy year for me, and obviously we're all in lockdown. As well as doing the record, I started writing with another songwriter here called Leo Stannard, who is an amazing singer-songwriter. And him and I were working together in a writing group, just a writing duo, writing songs for other people, because, you know, two minds are better than one. And so whilst I was preparing the album to release it and getting all the content together, but I'd finished writing the record. So the album was finished in terms of what it sounded like. So I just needed to get all the visuals and stuff ready. So I had a bit more spare time where I would have usually had been writing for Hunger. And I decided to fill that time with other sessions to write songs for other people, I guess. I think it was something that I wanted to get better at and something I wanted to focus on, just so that I could have that kind of, I'm very creative in that way. And I like to, I've always been passionate about telling stories, whether that's for myself or for others. So Leo and I started writing, and we were writing for some amazing dance producers over here, and also other big pop acts in over in America. And the more sessions we started to do, we were kind of being in Zoom rooms, so you can do sessions on Zoom now, guys. It's a very technological world we live in. So we're doing Zoom sessions, and people were really into the idea of us as a duo. You know, these two singer-songwriters, we come from very similar backgrounds, and it's all very organic and heartfelt. And taking that songwriting element and transferring it into a completely different genre. So something like dance music. So we've been working on developing a sound, really, but also we released a song only last week not last week, I want to say maybe 3 weeks ago. That's how time works in my mind.
Yeah.
I'm like, just yesterday. But like last month, we released a song called Run Run with these guys called Jaded and Will Clark, who are underground club DJs here. So, and it's cool. It's streaming really well. It's doing really well, but it's very different to anything you would have heard from me before. So for now, it's just working with other artists, helping them to write songs. And if we do the odd feature here and there, that's cool. But there's no solid plans yet, just making music and being creative, really, until I write my next record, I assume.
What a perfect outlet, I think, for you. That's awesome. It sounds super fun.
Club soon. Everyone watch out. I'm coming to the club music for everybody.
Oh, to be at a club. I know we all miss that.
I said to my housemate, her and I are very much homebodies, and obviously we've been staying home through the pandemic, but she said to me the other day, turned to me and said, I can't wait to be in a club. And that's very unusual for us, because you wouldn't have caught us in a club at all. Like, you know, I'm happy to go to bars and stuff like that, but saying it's the missing the intimacy of, like, you don't know these people, like, you're a stranger. But you have the freedom to kind of just be dancing next to them or whatnot. I look forward to, I was saying, I was like, if I can't go to the club, I'll make music for the clubs.
Yeah. There you go. Satisfy that club craving.
I was literally talking to one of my friends about that too. Like, we were just like, I miss being drunk in the bathroom and telling girls how pretty they are. Like,
yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Same thing with me and my boyfriend. We are homebodies, but we're just like, should we go to Vegas next year if we can? Like, that'd be so fun. Like, we never would have done that.
I think this time has been it's been interesting for a lot of people, because you end up doing these things you've never thought that you would do. You know, that's the same thing. I'm like, I can't wait to go to a club. It's like, I don't go to clubs.
Who goes to clubs? Yeah.
Club in years, but also it's just the option to do things, you know, like, if I live near Vegas, I'd be like, I'm going to Vegas.
Right.
Because I'm allowed to. But yeah.
Yeah, the pandemic has definitely made me long for things that I would not usually long for. Totally can agree with that. And Vegas is awesome. I've been there a couple of times. I 10 out of 10 recommend that.
I've been to Vegas, but I honestly think it's the worst carpeted place I've ever seen in my life.
The ugliest carpet.
I can confirm.
I was like, who is choosing the carpet for these places?
They are rather gross. Like, I can picture them. That's so scary.
They're like all in competition with who can have the ugliest carpet. And competition strong.
Strong, definitely.
A truer statement has never been said. That is funny.
I know another one of your passions that you have is fashion, and we were just like wondering, like we obviously we love your style, and even now, like you look awesome. Like that's such a cool outfit. Do you have any like future plans for like possibly having like a fashion line or doing anything within the fashion industry?
That is very nice. Thank you. That's a very nice. I mean, I just dress the way that makes me feel comfortable. I don't think that it's funny because in the past, I think there was a lot more, I had a little bit more of I dress, but I think I've been in the studio for too long, and now I've been in quarantine for too long. I've just forgotten how to dress really. I'd like to explore those things. I don't think that they're kind of on my priorities list, but then I look at people like Rihanna and then I'm like, but hang on, Riri can do it, you know what I mean? And that's like a global empire. She's really good. Alongside her music, I mean, I will never say never for anything, you know. I have such a passion for being creative in so many different ways, so if that leads me to fashion, then maybe potentially, but for now I'm just gonna stick with writing songs and just dressing however.
Well, I think even in quarantine, you're doing a great job because, like Celine said, you look awesome.
Actually, I genuinely wear about 3 outfits, but then days I'll have a shoot and I'll take a picture, and then I'm like, I'm going to trick them into thinking I own this outfit. Really, I think I'm just wearing a t-shirt like most of the time and sweats. But you know, fashion is what you make of it. I'm just lucky that sometimes sweats can be like on point.
Right. So you mentioned a little bit about Pipped. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and what you've got going on there?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm creating some curated content for this new social platform called Pipped. And basically it's a place where you can, it's not only myself, there's a whole database of different people. They've got magicians and celebrities and, you know, sports people, motivational speakers. You can kind of look through catalogs if you subscribe, and you can get curated content from them. So I just did an acoustic session where I played piano with them, and it's kind of, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the album. So that's just something that came through my management, and I thought that would be cool because it's mainly stuff that I might not have the time to do, or I would have liked to have had a team for, and they were able to kind of help me through that. So it's just like kind of like, what would you call it, like a page where like people who like my music can go and can just get like more exclusive behind the scenes. A few of the posts that I have up now have like some unreleased demos that I've written, stuff that I wrote, you know, a song from Nashville and an original of a song that I used to sing at gigs but I never put onto the record. So just little bits and pieces like that, stuff that, you know, because I'd like to share that, but obviously you can only share so much on Instagram or Twitter or whatever. So it's kind of like a blog vibe, and you just read about my music if anybody wants to. But you got to put my code in. It's Mali-Koa. You just type my name in.
And that's a cool way to connect with fans. I think that definitely, especially through quarantine, we've been able to see a lot of artists kind of connect with fans in different ways. So I'm excited about that, and I definitely am going to check that out.
Oh yes, let me know if there's anything else you'd rather see, because obviously sometimes I can't think of what to talk about. So if anyone has, and slide into the DMs and let me know what you. I think people don't realize that kind of stuff really helps.
Yeah.
Because got people out there telling you, well, the cool thing with me was a lot of this lockdown, I think I have my fan base, or the people who listen to my music, everybody's everyone's very enlightened. Everybody has a sense of purpose and direction. Everybody wants to have a voice and learn, and grow, which suits me perfectly, because that's the kind of life that I lead and stuff. So if anybody has suggestions, please feel free to let me know what I can do within my ability. I will try.
Of course, that's awesome. I can't wait to see and maybe give you some ideas. So of course, we love to talk about music. What is some of the artists that you're listening to currently, like that has gotten you through quarantine?
I have been listening to, I think that it's funny because I've spent a lot of time kind of being a big consumer of music and discovering new artists and looking at what's coming up. I think as a songwriter, you need to kind of be on the pulse when it comes to what's relevant right now. But a lot of my quarantine, actually, I've been going backwards, which is really weird, and listening to stuff that, makes me feel good, something that's a bit nostalgic. I've definitely been listening to, a lot of like Fleetwood Mac, and then also just like old bits and pieces of like Charlie Simpson, who was like, he released a country album which is called Long Road Home, which I love. In terms of new music, I haven't really been listening to much music. I think because I just work a lot on writing songs. I don't really get enough time to kind of explore lots of new music, but I've got a lot of cool people around me who are making really good tunes. So I'm busy kind of just like immersing myself in that world. But yeah, I've tripped down memory lane, and like, Graduation by Kanye West was like a big album lockdown, and I was just listening to that, like trying to get myself through things. But yeah, I'm always up for listening to new music, so I need to do a little bit more of that, I think.
I mean, I love going back to albums. Throwback albums are always the best, and I think we have so much time to do that. So
definitely. I've been listening to Hunger by Mali-Koa. Have you heard of it?
I have heard of it. It's really good.
Oh, good. It's a shower song.
Exactly. I've just been my own album on repeat for the last 8 months. So no, that's not true. But I think like after doing something like making an album and then releasing it, you kind of, and listening to it like so much, you just need to like decompress and take a break and just maybe like not listen to music for a little while. But there are some cool artists coming through at the moment, so I'm going to be listening to them, and kind of, I always update my playlist on my Spotify, which is called Quentin Quarantino, which I think is the best name that anyone ever named. So if anyone wants to listen to what I'm listening to at the moment, you can go to my Spotify and you can follow that playlist, and I do update that, and it's not just Fleetwood Mac and Kanye West.
I mean, it's certainly it's like we said, it's given us so much time to discover all kinds of artists. So I'm grateful for that.
Have you been watching anything during quarantine, like any good TV shows or movies?
I watched, so yes, I have. I'm really a person who sat down long enough to watch things. So it has been somewhat productive. I think the first quarantine I binge watched all the Ozark series, which gave me severe anxiety. If you've watched the Ozark series, if you watch those back to back, you will have anxiety by the 3rd season, or some sort of anxiousness about it. But then also I've watched, what else have I watched? I watched a show called Snowpiercer, which is, I'm very into anything sci-fi, anything aliens, anything post-apocalyptic. I'm very into that. So I really enjoyed that. And the new season's just come out. And then I've got this new show that I'm obsessed with, which is called Designated Survivor, which is like an American politics show about I'm not going to get into it.
No, get into it. We love it.
I was actually trying to explain. I'm one of those people that when I explain something, it really is every single detail. But the preface of it is that everybody goes to Congress, all the politicians go to Congress to attend this global conference, and there's a terrorist attack, and there are only 2 people left who are considered designated survivors, which is an actual thing in America. These people are like, they sit out of big important events in case something really bad happens and there's nobody left to run the country. So it follows these 2 people who are designated survivors, one of which who becomes the president of America, but he was I'm not going to actually, I was about to do the worst when people tell you what's going to happen, but that's the preface of it. So if you want to watch it, I'm up to season 2 now. I'm proper plugging them. I've been telling everyone.
That sounds like a cool show. Definitely one that will spark anxiety though.
Oh yeah, it's very far away from the world that we're living now, which can be quite stressful.
Yeah.
It's the alternate reality where this is like something that like you would never even imagine could be possible to happen. I've always been a bit of an escapist in that way. I think, you know, my favorite film or like series is like the trilogy is like Lord of the Rings, you know, something that's completely, and you know, to be an elf and, you know, like to do something that's completely outside of my immediate world. But then again, I guess designated survivor is a bit like more real. But yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. This is what you let me wander with my thoughts. It's like, what I'm talking about anymore.
That's what this podcast is all about. we love to ramble on about things. No worries.
Lord of the Rings parallel with Designated Survivor, and people at home are thinking, what are these? There's no connection. Oh no, they're just shows I like.
Totally respect it. So while we're on these fun little questions here, we know that you moved from London or from Australia to London. What would you say you like better about living where you are now versus where you were, and vice versa? Like what do you like best about both places?
I miss the weather. I definitely did not move to England for the weather. I mean, it's pretty bad, but I will tell you, there is no place in the world like London in the summer. Summertime here is perfect. All the rest of the year is terrible. But you know, I didn't move here for the weather. I think I miss the weather in Australia because Australia's got beautiful days and sunshine, but a place like London can really bring the best out in you when it comes to pursuing your, you know, to trying to be the best person that you can be in terms of career and goals. I've been really challenged here, and I was able to grow and meet loads of new people. So career-wise, London is definitely better for me. In terms of, yeah, they're just 2 different places. I think that Australia is really relaxed and fun and nice. It's a great place to grow up. It's a great place for family and to make friends. And London is a big city. It can be quite cold and dark. But I think that each place has the opportunity for different things to grow and to arise. And I think that London, I've been here almost, like 9 years now. So everyone says to me, your accent's so weird. And I'm like, in London, I've lived in
Leave me alone.
for years. I'm like, it's also, whenever I say to somebody here, you know, that's from London, you know, oh, I'm from Australia, they're like, oh yeah, we can tell you're Australian, obviously. But then when I go home, they're like, you sound like so London. I'm like, I don't think I sound that. Do you guys think I sound really British?
No, I would definitely say Australian.
Yeah, this is great. I love it. Quite funny though. A few interviews, a campaign for Revolution over in Australia, and it's noticeably different because when I get onto the phone with someone in Australia, you can hear me like, hello, how are you? You all right? Yeah. I definitely
jazz it
up because otherwise they end up saying like, have you forgotten your roots? And I'm like, no, I haven't. but yeah, accent's a weird thing. But I feel like London is just a great place, but I can't really say like what's amazing about it in terms of like, you know, the weather or like the transport links or anything like that. But it's a cool place to challenge yourself, I think.
Which place? I haven't had breakfast yet, so I am hungry. Which place has the better food?
Oh yes, yes. Australia definitely has better food than the UK. I feel like I'm going to get in trouble for saying that. I know that for a fact, produce, because you know obviously I've worked in produce, but I think that there's way better quality of food in Australia. But that's probably partially to do with like, you know, the humidity and like also the weather. I do think that compared to other parts of Europe, like Italy or you know like places like that, you know, like France, British food is not that great, but also it's delicious. Like you got battered fish and you know you've got fish and chips or whatever, which is like a main thing, which I don't really eat that much, but it feels really good because it's like very heavy and stodgy. I mean, I'm always going to say food tastes better in Australia because my mum lives in Australia.
Right.
And I'm going to get all my meals with my family, so that's like my favorite time to eat is probably with those guys. So unless they come here, of course, maybe.
I really am not too familiar with like, I feel like any Australian food. So like, what's your favorite thing that your mom makes you?
My favorite thing to eat in Australia that my mum makes me. I mean, it really is one of those things where you guys are gonna just shake your heads and be like, you know, anything that's barbecued, like Australian barbecue is like the
Yeah.
best. You know, anything that's cooked on a barbecue. There's like prawn salad, which we have a lot of because it's for Christmas, it's summertime in Australia. So I've only had my very first cold Christmas this year because I didn't go. But prawn salad is very delicious, which you guys would call shrimps, I think. So
I
shrimp.
think.
You guys are looking at like
What?
but also just like I miss home comforts like Tim Tams. There are these biscuits which are chocolatey. If you know, you know, because
They are so good.
so good, right? And obviously like little things like Vegemite, but you can get those things here, I guess. But yeah, my mum makes banging sandwiches. She's always been a good sandwich preparer. I think anything that a mom makes always tastes better.
Okay, I have
100%.
an off the wall question for you, but this is something that has been going around. You know what I'm about to do, don't you, Celine? Do you? Okay, so
Maybe.
So we've been having this huge debate at the THP headquarters, and it's ridiculous. And I have to bring it up. But we've been talking about sandwiches, and if you consider a hot dog a sandwich, like, do you?
Is a hot dog a sandwich? This is a great question.
Thank you.
This is a great question. I think that a hot dog is a version of a sandwich.
See, we're torn up here at here and now. Like, I don't know. I just feel like a hot dog is not a sandwich.
I feel like it's a name of a type of sandwich, but also it's very long. The shape is very different to a normal sandwich. But then I'm like, what makes a sandwich a sandwich? Is it the size of the sandwich? Is it the shape of it? Or is it what goes into it?
Or the bread? Like, who makes the rules?
But I think that a hot dog, in my opinion, is a version of a
sandwich. So your team hot dog is a sandwich.
Yes. Are you hot dog? You're not a sandwich. It's not.
But like I'm like always I keep teeter-totter like going between the two because it's like a hot dog's a hot dog, but then also it's like meat in between bread. Which is a sandwich. And then you can go into like, okay, if it's not a sandwich, then it's like a Subway sandwich because it's like the same shape.
A sandwich, but then it's like, anyway, I could go on forever.
I know. I'm sorry. I woke up and chose violence today. I had to bring it up.
Like, Celine, do you know what I'm about to say? And you look about to do my intellect or something, and then you were like, I'm gonna ask the sandwich question, and I was like, oh.
It's crazy because we've been going back and forth about it like for probably a week now, and it was getting heated in there. They were like, well, they said the same thing about the sub sandwich versus the hot dog. I mean, realistically, it is between two pieces of bread, but like, it's a hot dog. It just makes me so mad.
Oh gosh. I'm gonna start asking people that question.
Right? I ask everyone now. So, I'm sorry I had to bring you into this.
I've weighed in. You've got my opinion. It is ding 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 in my.
We'll report back and let everyone know what team you're on.
Thank you, everybody.
Oh goodness. Oh my goodness. I can't stop thinking about it now. I'm sorry I did this. All right. Well, we've covered a lot of great stuff about your music and about you. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us before we let you go?
Yes, I would just like to say, I don't know why I'm making that voice. It's like, I would just like to say, I would say to anybody who is listening and anybody who has supported me in my journey and my music, I'm extremely thankful and looking forward to hopefully performing one day for everybody. I want to say thanks to you guys over at the Honey Pot for being so supportive, and all your kind words, they don't go unnoticed. And I'm super excited to keep creating songs, and hopefully people love them. And yeah, just thanks for having me. That's all, really. I don't want to do anything. I think I've plugged myself and my agenda, and also some really random things like my favorite TV shows, which I'll probably listen back to and think, oh gosh, could have done that better.
Don't worry,
I do that every day.
I brought up the hot dog question. That's the real kicker here.
I love that you did with that one as well. It's like, before you go, let's just quickly round this off with a really important question. No, it's great. I like there's a good balance of everything, like everything in life. It's all about duality. So I'm just, it's nice to meet you both and speak again.
Of course. Well, yes. Huge thank you for coming out and doing this for us. We had a great time, a lot of laughs and a lot of fun. So thank you. And you're always welcomed back. If you ever want to jump back on with us, we'd love to have you again. Maybe we'll see you when you roll out the second album. And of course, everybody stream Hunger. It's awesome. We promise you'll be in your feels and you'll love it.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for listening. Go stream it. It's called Hunger.
Yes.
Yes. And we'll have all your socials linked below. And then any article we've ever written about you, we'll make sure to link it. So make sure everyone checks it out. And thank you guys. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.